to what we've been looking for with the price of XRP and the movements and whatnot. So let me let me show you what I'm looking at here. Whoa. Okay. So that's more movement than I was expecting. Even though in the grand scheme of things it's not that much. But let's go to the daily. So I put this here earlier today because I measured out something. I don't know what it was, but it was one of these that I just copied those bars over, and it comes down early, like the next 3, 4, 5 days. It comes down, and then um, it might sort of recover a bit and go sideways. But this is crypto week. This period of time right here, from here to here. Now, this is July 14th. This is the day that Uranus goes into Gemini, which is a significant astrological date. I think it's July 13th, actually, so this is the day. July 14th is the start of crypto week, when there's a lot of things going through the house and the bills and all those things sort of getting set up. So it's supposed to be positive news. But I'm suspecting it'll come down like this in the next 1, 2, 3 days. And then there'll be positive news. Nothing too crazy. And we'll have enough. So maybe this happens right here. So positive news and markets react positively and they kind of trade sideways, and then boom, it takes off. And it just goes crazy from there. Now, this is, if I look at the weekly, this trend line, it makes sense that it would get touched. So I know this seems crazy, but look at how massive this was. We were at 22 cents and we went up to $2. Okay? 22 cents, $2. That's 740%. We're at 500 right now. That's 900. So 740% puts us at $4.75. That's if we see this kind of price action from this average, from the very bottom, from November. We could see this crazy price action up here. It's possible. Or this could be the price action that comes after 2026. So it could be something like this, and it goes up to $4, which is right here-ish, and it comes down. So this, let's duplicate it. It could be something like this. Let's go to $4.50. Let's move it over. And so now we have our targets. So price goes up, and then we have this run right here, this crazy run that we're getting ready to go with the weekly. Well, we're not not this one. we need a couple of weeks for it to come back and come back down. So 1 week. How many days we have left? We have 20 hours. So we could get a red dot on the next week, and I have confirmed that you can have 1 week. This is 2 weeks apart. So a red dot and a green dot, 2 weeks apart. This is a red dot and a green dot 1 week apart. 1, 2. This is 2 weeks apart. So you can have 1 week apart. It's possible. It's not unheard of. So we could have a red dot 1 week here, and then 2 weeks after that, we can have a green dot. Just like this over here. There's a 1 week apart, so that's, and then 2 weeks apart, there's another dot. So it's possible that we experience something like that. Now, why is all of this interesting? Because to me, I don't know what exactly is going to happen, because Xi Jinping is missing. And it's speculated that there was a coup d'etat in China. And this news it's not hitting the circuit yet. They're not talking about it. This is just like conspiracy land. I'm sure that it'll start, circulating Twitter and other places at some point, but for right now, it's not. So I had some questions, and here's my conversation with Grok. With this news about Xi Jinping being missing and skipping the BRICS summit in Brazil, has there been a coup d'etat in China? What would the implications of that be? After Trump announced there were trade agreements with China, that may have caused internal conflict in China because they think it makes China look weak, hence the coup. If a coup was in fact the situation, what would the outcome be? It seems the other CCP leaders would want to make China look strong, so an attack on Taiwan, reinstated tariffs, etc., might be their next moves. What else could possibly be the outcome if they wanted to make China look strong? More military exercises in the South China Sea? What do you make of this situation? Okay. So here's Grok's speculation. The speculation surrounding Chinese President Xi Jinping's absence from 2025 BRICS summit. Okay, so the BRICS summit was like a week ago, and Putin and Xi Jinping were not there. Putin attended via teleconference because of allegations of him breaking international war crime laws with the Russia-Ukraine conflict. So he's not traveling, but he was there at teleconference, like he was there video. But Ping was not. Okay. So in Brazil, and rumors of a potential coup d'etat in China stem from a mix of official reports, media analysis, and unverified social media claims. Below, I'll address each aspect of your question, systematically drawing on available information, critically examining their narrative, and exploring potential implications. Xi Jinping's absence from the BRICS summit, what's known? Xi's absence confirmed. Chinese President Xi Jinping is not attending the BRICS summit in Rio de Janeiro, scheduled for July 6th through 7th. Oh, I thought it was a week ago. Okay. So won't be attending, and Putin will be attending teleconference. Okay, I'm like a little bit ahead here. I thought this was already taken place. Sorry. Scheduled for July 6th through 7th, 2025. Marking his, so that's the reason why it hasn't made the news yet, because it hasn't happened yet. Okay. Marking his first absence from the event since taking office in 2012. Instead, Premier Li Qiang is representing China. And also, China is like a founding member of BRICS, one of the founding members. Okay, so it's kind of important for him to be there. Official explanation: Beijing cited scheduling conflict. Okay. And noted that she had already met Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva twice. That's quite the name. In the past year. At the G20 summit in November 2024 and in Beijing in May 2025. Con Yeah, but that's just the president of Brazil, not all of the BRICS nations. So I don't know. That doesn't fly with me. Context of absence. The absence comes at a time when BRICS is under pressure to demonstrate solidarity amid global economic uncertainty, particularly due to U.S. tariffs imposed by President Donald Trump, with a July 9th, 2025 deadline for some BRICS members to negotiate tariff exemptions. Speculation on X. Posts on X have fueled rumors, with some claiming she has been missing for 14 days, suggesting a coup might be underway, potentially involving Wang Yang as a successor. These claims lack corroboration from credible sources appear speculative. Critical analysis. The official explanation of a scheduling conflict is plausible, but has been met with skepticism due to Xi's consistent attendance at previous BRICS summits and his emphasis on the group as a counterweight to Western influence. Xi's recent international activities, such as his Southeast Asia tour in April 2025, Vietnam, Malaysia, Cambodia, indicate he has not been entirely absent from public view, undermining claims of a prolonged disappearance. That was in April, though. Okay. The absence could reflect strategic priorities, such as focusing on domestic economic challenges, for example, property crisis, youth unemployment, or preparing for upcoming Shanghai Cooperation Organization (SCO) summit in September 2025. No, she just shows up. Like, these leaders show up. They have a lot of people doing things. There's a reason why he's not showing up. The invitation of Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Prime Minister Modi, for a state dinner by Brazil may have influenced Xi's decision. The invitation of Indian Prime Minister Modi for a state dinner by Brazil may have influenced Xi. I wonder what's going on there. I know that China and India don't get along very well because of they're kind of competing nations. As it could position him as a secondary figure at the summit. Modi could be. I don't know. That's kind of what I'm asking right now. A perception Beijing might wish to avoid. Oh. As in Modi would be ahead of Xi. I don't know. Interesting. Conclusion on absence. Xi's absence from the BRICS summit is likely a calculated decision driven by domestic priorities, diplomatic optics, or logistical considerations rather than evidence of a dramatic event like a coup. The claim of a 14-day disappearance is not supported by reliable sources, as Xi's recent activities are documented. The speculation on X appears exaggerated and lacks substantiation from mainstream or official channels. Well, I don't think it's too speculative. If he doesn't appear, like Trump makes appearances, Putin appearances, and it's documented and it's in the news. And Xi has not made any appearances for the past 14 days. It's kind of like when people thought that Kim Jong-un was dead for a period of time because he was not making appearances. And that drug on for a while, and it was all over the news. So it's interesting that they're not pumping this into the news right now. Has there been a coup in China? What's known? No credible evidence of a coup. There is no confirmed evidence from reputable sources indicating a coup d'etat in China as of July 5th, 2025. Claims of a coup primarily stem from unverified posts on X, which cite Xi's absence from BRICS summit and alleged 14-day disappearance as signs of political instability. Historical context. This is interesting. Rumors of coups in China have surfaced periodically, often driven by Xi's centralization of power, purges of political rivals, and opaque governance. However, these have consistently been debunked. Xi's grip on the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, military and state apparatus remains strong, appears strong, as evidenced by his recent diplomatic engagements and control over policy. Appears to still be strong. Just a little correction, Grok. Wang Yang succession rumors. Some ex-posts suggest Wang Yang, a former vice premier and member of the Politburo Standing Committee, PSC. Isn't it PRC and CCP? Okay, well, anyways. As a political successor, this is speculated as Wang has been sidelined in recent years, and Xi has eliminated term limits, positioning himself as leader indefinitely. Crazy. Term limits, no term limits. I guess that's what's going on, and who knows? That might be what's going on here in America too. Critical analysis. Unlikelihood of a coup. A coup against Xi would require significant consideration among military party, and security elites, all of whom Xi has carefully consolidated power over through anti-corruption campaigns and loyalty purges. The People's Liberation (PLA) and internal security forces are closely aligned with Xi, making a military-led coup improbable without visible signs of unrest or defections. Now, I do know that the people in China, the citizens, are trying to break away from the yuan, because they're aware of the yuan. They're trying to make like a CBDC yuan, and they're trying to break away from that and just go like crypto. So there is internal conflicts at the citizen level. So it's not all roses and sunshine and rainbows. Okay, economic and political context. China faces economic challenges, property crisis, youth unemployment, tariff pressures, which could create internal dissent. However, there is internal dissent right now. However, these are more likely to manifest as policy debates with the CCP rather than a coup, given Xi's centralized control. So that is probably more than halfway true, but there is internal conflict. It might not be at Xi's top level, the top of the pyramid kind of thing, but there is grumblings on the bottom. And it's very sad. I'm very sad for the people in China. For people in general, the structure of how things have been operating and ran for so long is probably breaking down. Hence, we're going into this new Uranus and Gemini, and going to see something potentially disrupt the whole system altogether. Okay, next point. Social media amplification. The coup narrative on X appears to be a mix of sensationalism and wishful thinking. Possibly, well, I don't know if it's wishful thinking. She's got things under control. I don't know, like, imagine if there was a coup. I don't think that he would be replaced by somebody better. I mean, they're like, if they make China, if the CCP is thinking that Xi is making China look weak with his policies, and they want to make China look strong, what are they going to do? That's what I was talking about the question earlier. I was like, attack Taiwan, more military exercises in the South China Sea, and more Belt and Road stuff, and kind of aggressive lending, and taking over different third world countries and things like that. So I don't know. It might not be a better thing. Okay. Sensationalism and wishful thinking, possibly amplified by anti-CCP sentiment or misinformation. Without corroboration evidence from state media, international observers or credible leaks, these claims should be treated as inconclusive. Okay. Conclusion. Okay, let's just keep moving on. Implications of a hypothetical coup. Okay, this is going to be interesting. If a coup were to occur, it would be a seismic event, seismic event with far-reaching implications. Below, I explore potential outcomes, assuming a scenario where she is ousted, and a new leadership seeks to project strength. Political implications. Now, this is very speculative, and I don't think this is actually happening. I just don't know exactly what's going on. You know, it's kind of like she's insulating himself from what? You know, power vacuum and instability. A coup would likely create a power vacuum within the CCP, leading to factional struggles. A new leadership might face challenges considering power, given Xi's elimination of rivals and institutional reforms, favoring his control. Leadership profile. A successor, for example, Wang Yang, or another Politburo figure, would likely prioritize stability and continuity to maintain CCP legitimacy. However, they might adopt a more nationalist or aggressive posture to legitimize their rule and rally public support. Kind of what I'm thinking. The latter. Economic implications, trade policy shifts. A new leadership might reconsider recent trade agreements with the U.S., particularly in May 2025, the May 2025 deal that reduced U.S. tariffs on Chinese goods from 145% to 30%, and Chinese tariffs on U.S. imports to 2% to 10%. If perceived as a concession to Trump, these agreements could be seen as a sign of weakness, prompting a hardline stance such as reinstating tariffs or imposing new tariff barriers. Global trade disruption. China's role as a manufacturing powerhouse means any internal instability could disrupt global supply chains, exacerbate inflation, and impact BRICS and other trade partners. Military and geopolitical implications. Taiwan, a new leadership seeking to project strength, might escalate rhetoric or actions toward Taiwan, viewing it as a unifying nationalist cause. An attack on Taiwan, however, is unlikely in the immediate aftermath of a coup due to the PLA's complexity and loyalty to Xi. Instead, symbolic gestures like increased military exercises or incursions into Taiwan's air defense identification zone, ADIZ, could be used to signal above. South China Sea, more frequent or provocative military exercises in the South China Sea are plausible, as China has historically used such displays to assert dominance and distract from domestic issues. This could heighten tensions with the Philippines, Vietnam, and the United States. Global influence. A coup could weaken China's ability to lead BRICS or the SCO, as internal focus might reduce its diplomatic clout. Conversely, a new leadership might double down on anti-Western alliances to counter perceptions of vulnerability. Other political actions to project strength. Export controls, tightening restrictions on critical minerals, rare earths, semiconductors, as China has done in response to U.S. tariffs to assert economic leverage. Y'all, I don't know if you remember, but like they were making cars with roll down windows during COVID, like normal like Jeeps and like cars, like not Hondas, but like cars, because they didn't have access to some of these things. So you just couldn't order cars with like this certain tech, like power windows. Cyber operations, increased cyber attacks or disinformation campaigns to project power without direct military confrontation. This cyber operations lines up with the Uranus and Gemini narrative that we have explored in previous videos, by the way. And also it lines up with previous things like cryptography and other instances, other developments that have transpired during the last Uranus and in Gemini orbit that took place during World War II, during and after. Domestic crackdowns, intensified censorship, surveillance, or purges to consolidate control and suppress dissent, projecting an image of internal strength. Regional diplomacy, strengthened ties with Russia, Iran, or North Korea to counter U.S. influence, possibly through joint military drills or economic pacts. And the Iran narrative is likely. Because it does seem that Iran and China do have a good relationship. And there were those two military cargo planes that flew into, they turned off their transponders and flew directly into Iranian airspace and disappeared. They diverted from their original flight path. They flew into Iranian airspace, disappeared, turned off their transponders, disappeared, and reappeared sometime later, and that was on June 17th or something like that. Days before, Trump destroyed Fordo and the other nuclear enrichment facilities, which, by the way, I do think that they did sell their enriched uranium and other valuable nuclear assets to China through a deal with Trump and Xi during this time, because after destroying Fordo and other nuclear facilities in Iran, I'm kind of surprised that nobody's talking about nuclear fallout. I mean, what about the nuclear dust that Trump talks about? We don't want India and Pakistan to get into a nuclear conflict. Those two are nuclear, and nations, and if they get into nuclear conflict, then that's going to affect not only India and Pakistan, but that dust is going to blow over and it's going to affect the whole world. Well, he just did that. He just did what he said he was afraid of happening, and nobody's talking about the dust. Hello. People are silly. Okay. Social and domestic implications, yes. Did I already? Okay. Conclusion, economic turndowns. Okay. A coup could trigger public unrest or elite infighting depending on how it's perceived. A nationalist agenda might rally public support, but risks alienating moderates or economic reformers within the CCP. Economic downturns could worsen if global confidence in China's stability falters, leading to capital flight or reduced foreign investment. Okay. Trade agreements and internal conflict. What's known? U.S.-China trade deal. In May 2025, the United States and China agreed to a 90-day tariff truce, reducing the U.S. tariffs on Chinese goods from 145% to 30%, and Chinese tariffs on U.S. imports to 10%. I wonder what it was from. Was it like 145%? Anyways, alongside China lifting barriers on critical mineral exports, both sides have since accused each other of violating the deal with talks stalling. Trump's narrative. Trump has pushed for direct talks with Xi, believing he can negotiate a broader deal. A call between the two leaders occurred on June 5th, 2025, with Trump announcing mutual visits, though China's readout emphasized U.S. adherence to the deal and caution on Taiwan. Interesting. Internal conflict hypothesis. You're suggesting that the trade deal might have caused internal conflict within the CCP due to perceptions of weakness, aligns with some analysis that Xi faces pressure to maintain China's image as a global power. However, no direct evidence links the trade deal to a coup. Critical analysis. Perception of weakness. The trade deal, while a de-escalation could be seen by CCP hardliners as a concession, especially given Trump's aggression rhetoric and China's retaliatory tariffs, Xi's absence from BRICS might reflect a need to manage domestic perceptions or factional dissent. That's most likely. That's the most true thing that I've heard about Xi's absence so far. Economic pressure. China's economy is strained by a property crisis and tariff impacts, which could amplify internal debate over Xi's strategy. However, Xi's control over the CCP and media makes open rebellion unlikely without significant catalysts. For example, mass unrest or elite defections. Mass unrest has happened. It happened during COVID. No coup link. The trade deal alone is unlikely to trigger a coup, as Xi has weathered similar pressures before. For example, U.S. tariffs during his first term, the BRICS absence, and trade talks are more likely part of a broader strategy to balance domestic and internal priorities. Okay. What else could a new leadership do to project strength? Economic retaliation. Beyond reinstating tariffs, they could impose sanctions on the U.S. firms, restrict rare earths exports further, or accelerate de-dollarization efforts, promoting yuan-based trade with BRICS. Whoa, that actually is ringing a bell with me. That's ringing a bell with me. That makes me think that the whole Xi narrative and the coup d'etat narrative could be possible, because this would accelerate this. It would accelerate this all the way back down to 50 cents. So we don't know. Crypto news looking good. Yay. Looking good. Bull run. We start popping off. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. September. This needs to keep moving over. October. It needs to be here. This needs to be here. This needs to be October, November, yeah. So something like this. So this news lines up with this narrative. I mean, this hypothesis or whatever. Internal conflicts in China could be the catalyst to the crash back down to 50 cents. Military posturing. In addition to South China Sea exercises, they might increase PLA deployments near Taiwan, conduct joint drills with Russia, or showcase advanced weaponry, for example, hypersonic missiles, to deter adversaries. Diplomatic offensive. Strengthen alliances with non-Western powers, for example, Russia, Iran, BRICS members, to counter United States influence, possibly by offering favorable trade deals or infrastructure. This is the Belt and Road. Okay, yeah, Belt and Road. See, they might amplify the Belt and Road thing, which, okay, this is starting to sound a little bit cool. Not cool, but this is starting to sound I said cool. It's not cool, but it sounds like it's going to propel the de-dollarization initiative, and also the de-yuan, and de-ruple, and all the other currencies around the world. Because in order for this Belt and Road initiative to take place, China needs to borrow money from the IMF. Um, and China's like debt level, although it's not as much as the United States. What is China's debt? 13 trillion. Okay, so that's just a brief little look at it. We're up here at like 40 trillion or whatever, but China's like the United States gradually got to where we are now. China went to just shooting straight up, not because they're creating debt internally, but because China is doing the Belt and Road Initiative. In order for them to front run all of these other countries with infrastructure, they have to borrow. So they're basically consolidating these countries around the world to becoming part of Chinese territories, because China is basically doing the same thing that America has done through war, which is look at Iraq, go to war, destroy the currency, destroy the economy, destroy everything, and then turn around and start lending money, teaching them how to, infrastructure and all of that, and giving them resources and developing their civil, like we get more less on like just the infrastructure and more involved in like the people, and like teaching them how to run a country. And so Iraq, or Iraq or whatever, they are an example of where how the America war machine will go in and destroy a country, and then they'll go and restructure it, and then they'll say, hey, we are owed money through all of this time and energy and stuff that we've put into your country. And so they, during the time of the devaluation of their currency, and while they're on exotic currency lists, they will get paid a lump sum of devalued currency, and then once they prove to be like ready to reinstate their currency and revalue, the United States is already paid. China is doing it through debt. So China is doing it like, okay, now you are basically part of China. Look at how much China is involved in Australia, and other countries as well. So they are doing it through like, we are going to develop your infrastructure, but we are going to have like strategic access to certain parts of your land for military purposes. So they're doing it a different way, but it's still kind of the same thing, because they basically own militarily like that, and through military like ownership or influence on a country, that country is now aligned with China. It's not like America can go and put military bases on that country. No, now that country is aligned with China. So the Belt and Road Initiative is more than just that. America did it one country at a time, and China is trying to do it across the globe. So this is interesting. Um, strengthening alliances with non-Western powers, for example, Russia, Iran, BRICS members, to counter influence, possibly offering favorable trade deals or infrastructure investments via the Belt and Road Initiative. Okay. Propaganda campaigns, amplified nationalist messaging through state media to rally domestic support, emphasizing China's resilience against Western bullying. Um, it's interesting. They call us bullying, even though we are. They're bullying as well. They're doing like a aggressive like lending policy. Aggressive like initiative is very aggressive, and people don't realize how aggressive it is. Technological dominance, accelerate investments in AI, semiconductors, or green energy to position China as a global leader, countering United States technological restrictions. Okay. Assessment of the situation. What I make of it, Xi's decision to skip BRICS summit is likely strategic, driven by domestic economic pressure, diplomatic optics, avoiding a secondary role to Modi. Oh, okay, that's what I thought. Or preparation for the SCO summit. It does not indicate a coup is a coup or prolonged absence, as Xi's recent Southeast Asia tour, that was in April. Trade talks with Trump confirms his active leadership. That was okay. His April tour and his June 5th talk with Trump or something like that. Coup rumors. The coup narrative is largely speculative, amplified by unverified ex posts and a lack of transparency in Chinese politics. Without concrete evidence, state media silence, PLA movements, or elite defections, or elite defections. These claims should be dismissed or inconclusive. So people aren't allowed to think grok. Okay. Trade and internal dynamics. United States trade deal and tariff tensions may create internal pressure within the CCP, but Xi's centralized power makes a coup unlikely. His absence from BRICS could reflect a focus on managing these pressures or signaling to the United States that China negotiates on its terms. Geopolitical moves. If China seeks to project strength, it's more likely to pursue measured actions like increased South China Sea exercises, diplomatic outreach, or export controls rather than risky moves like attacking Taiwan. An attack on Taiwan would require years of preparation and risk catastrophic economic and military consequences, making it improbable even in a coup scenario. Uh, Grok. I should have done this in this chat. I should have done that in this chat because look at what happened. The last time Uranus and Gemini happened, World War II happened, technological advancements, financial changes, that's massive. And the times before that, it was like the Civil War and the American Revolutionary War. I'm just trying to remember here, but um so kind of I'm thinking that it's not it's not impossible. Okay. So, um, that all is very interesting. I wanted to bring that to y'all's attention, and there's more going on than meets the eye. Final assessment. I don't really need to read the final assessment. We know that Putin is not going to the BRICS summit in Brazil because of potential war crimes, accusations at least. So he's not going to be doing that. But I did want to share that with you guys because she is missing, and if there were to be a perfect storm, a black swan event, or something that could trigger um, the crash and in crypto, that would be it. And if she continues to be missing for months, then we would have July. So we'd have July, August, September, October. And how long was Kim Jong Un missing? During Trump's first term. Kim Jong Un's most notable absence during Trump's first term, January 27th. January 27th. Oh, his first term. That was January to January 2021. Occurred in April to May 2020, when he was not seen publicly for approximately 3 weeks, around 21 days. Wow. Okay, so we can't. Yeah, 4 months is a long, long time. So Xi Jinping is missing for. He's up there. Nobody's talking about it yet. That's interesting. Well, anywho, y'all, I wanted to leave you guys with that because it's interesting. I'll get this video posted, and thank you for hanging out. And I wish you guys a wonderful evening. Bye.